Just Straight Talk with Katie and Lindsay.
Hi, my name is Katie Hutchinson, and I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, and I'm also a certified mediator.
And I'm Lindsay Kearns. I'm the mama behind MalibuMamaLoves.com, and I'm also a certified conscious trauma informed life coach. We're coming at you guys a little bit late today, but we found some shocking news out this morning. I was shocked to find out that the experts are estimating that 6 to 10 million Americans have been involved in a cult.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, between 3,000 to 5,000 cults are in existence in the USA. And that means we have more cults with more cult members than ever before. Can you believe this?
Yes, actually, I can because my mother was a cult person, but I'll talk about that later. When we say cults, many people are flooded with memories of mass killings in Jonestown by Jim Jones, Hare Krishna's kidnappings, David Koresh, who led the Branch Davidians to their doom near Waco, Texas. I think of the tennis shoes. It was just the tennis shoes that were out, I believe.
I remember that.
The FLDS, who married or do marry, I think they're still around, girls off at like 12, 13 years old to 65-year-old men, make them sleep with whoever. It's scary how charismatic these leaders are and what they get people to actually do. It's crazy. Presently, cult is a label that has been applied to a wide variety of religions. Because of this negative connotation of cult, academics prefer to use the expression new religious movement. While there are some healthy new religious movement groups,
I wonder if anybody can say that without laughing. I mean, come on.
Sorry. The vast majority are not the most well-meaning.
It's true because cults provide their members with fellowship and a real good place to belong and a sense, even if it's false, of meaning for these people's lives. Often taking in people, and by taking in, I mean targeting people that are in an extreme amount of emotional pain. Then they get reprogrammed, right, to align with their beliefs and thus creating an army of people who will do the bidding of these cult leaders. Most recently, we've been hearing a lot about Nexium and Scientology, but Nexium, where the Mark was first able to sell self-help and self-improvement courses, right? I think he started in the late 80s selling those things. And the program grew to where he was able to brainwash the people into branding themselves, giving him money, giving him blackmail on themselves. They would turn themselves in. Yes, they would get something for blackmail and they would give it to him to keep in case they ever acted out. He could have punishment for them.
He could hold it over their heads.
Right. And then eventually that led into them having sex with him. So no one really knew what was going on behind the scenes because it looked like this whole beautiful self-improvement program. Why wouldn't you want that for people?
I don't know.
You know, and that's how he was able to grow it and keep it going for so long because he didn't get arrested till June of 2019.
Yeah, and because one or a couple of the people were celebrities, that helped the whole situation, meaning it came out faster than a normal cult. Okay, so it's clearly an ongoing problem, but it doesn't gain national attention until something really violent happens, right?
And let's be honest, nothing does. That's the sad thing. You know, we've said that about everything.
It gets extremely costly and has a sensational side. The Cult Awareness Network receives over 18,000 calls a year in the USA for help from cult members, families, etc., begging for help, to get their loved ones out. So, look at Scientology. I'll tell you a little story. My mother became a Scientologist in the 70s. Didn't bode well for her marriage. And as a result, I had to go to Scientology school in kindergarten. So it was one classroom with kindergartners through sixth graders. And I learned nothing except how to buy carob chips. There was carob day.
There was
carob day.
Oh my gosh.
There was carob day. And how to steal from the lunch truck. The big kids made me steal from the lunch truck and how to lie. So it was awesome.
Because I don't think Scientology places any emphasis on education for their children. They don't want you to have an education. And the sad reality is that there are a lot of vulnerable people out there who fall prey to these super enigmatic individuals, often losing all sense of reality and sense of self.
Yeah, these cult leaders generally have psychosis or a narcissistic personality. And this drives them to preach a message, convincing others to follow them. They all have or had an overabundant belief that they were special and that they alone had the answers to problems and that they had to be revered because they're so special. They demand and or demanded perfect loyalty from others, from followers. They overvalued themselves and devalued those around them.
Which I think is a little bit like when we were, because I watched the Scientology documentary with Leah Remini, if I'm saying her name
Leah
right.
Remini.
And they were saying, the one gentleman that's on there was saying that the leader used to make them write, insults,
I'm ugly.
names like I'm ugly, or swear words, the B word, or SH, well, SH head, or things that are embarrassing, and they would make them wear the sign and walk around in public and have to tell people like I am this.
Lovely.
That's kind of, they force themselves to devalue themselves in public, and that's
and they keep
so
like
twisted.
On celebrities. They're all about the celebrities, so they keep books because you have to come clean and cleanse yourself, and so people admit things.
Sure.
And so then they have all this gossip on huge celebrities, and that's why the celebrities don't leave. They're terrified to leave because this gossip will come out.
Yeah.
So these people are intolerant of criticism, and above all, they do not want to be questioned or challenged. Oh no. They use mind control. I call it the Patty Hearst syndrome, and brainwashing techniques to recruit and maintain followers. This can have really dangerous and long-lasting psychological effects. It really does.
It does.
Forever.
Because cults often use behavior modification, right, on followers. And there's probably tons of manifestos with tons of different exercises that you can do to create mind control, to brainwash people, right? They use things as thought-stopping techniques, instilling an us versus them mentality within this cult and mindset. Members are taught to stop doubts from entering their consciousness at all about the cults. I mean, they are often doing this with key phrases that they're meant to repeat over and over again. They'll put it in songs. They make you repeat it in a prayer.
Like what? I am special. I am special.
I forget what the FDLS one was. It was like, I am to be sweet, to be soft and sweet, or something.
Oh.
You know what I'm talking about? So they have those phrases.
Pray and be sweet, or something like that.
And they have these phrases that you repeat over and over again. And that sort of, it is brainwashing.
Yeah.
They also do, they'll get into what your personal fears are, your phobias, and they'll use that to try to control you so that you will never leave or question the cult. You think you're going to get cancer or struck down by God if you leave. And people start to fully believe this.
Yeah. The end of the world, Manson used that. Like the world there's going to be a civil war.
Or they get blackmailed into staying,
Yep.
These leaders are experts at using these techniques to make a person dependent or obedient or both.
There are three main types of cult leaders. The delusional martyr, which a delusional cult leader is considered one of the most dangerous because they can use their unyielding beliefs to convince others to buy into their delusions, which is terrifying. No matter how crazy, they fully believe in their delusions and are able to convince others of it as well. And let me just say, they shape people. So they slowly do something, see if they can get away with it, and then do something more and do something more. And in the end, 8-year-olds are having sex with 80-year-olds.
The preacher turned egomaniac cult leader is usually not aware in the beginning that they have any form of charisma at all. They just sort of have an idea, and once they realize they have that charisma, then they start to take off and just let their egos take off with them. But generally, these people will start off as like a teacher or a street preacher, or working within a church somewhere, right, with those ideas, and then they discover, oh, people are listening to me. I'm making, great ground here, and it feeds their ego, and then they just run with it, and it grows to just maniacal levels.
Yep. The hard and fast narcissistic cult leader has been a narcissist since childhood or teenage years. They feel ultimately entitled to completely lie to you without remorse, to put on this amazing, charming face, and to get you to believe what they are selling, whatever it is, whether it's God or a product or whatever, and also to give them all your money.
That's always
Yeah, that's
one of the
helpful.
top ones. So I thought it would be really helpful if we were to share a list of the character traits of these pathological cult leaders, because this list has many. It lists many ways to assess if a cult leader is dangerous or not. This is what the professionals will go back and go over this list. So I thought it would be a good idea to share that with you guys to kind of give you an idea of what to look out for, some red flags, as we like to say on this show.
Yep. So they have a grandiose idea of who, I'm going to say he for the purposes of he, but there are hers, of who he is and what he can achieve.
They're very preoccupied with fantasies of unlimited success, power, and brilliance.
Beauty. They demand blind, unquestioned obedience.
They require excessive admiration from followers and outsiders.
They have this sense of entitlement, expecting to be treated as so special all the time.
They exploit their cult members. They ask for money. They ask for their relatives to put them at financial risk, or whatever it is. They have no problem exploiting everybody.
Yep, none. They're arrogant and haughty in their behavior and their attitude.
They have an exaggerated sense of power and entitlement that it allows them to bend the rules and break the laws without questioning it or even feeling anything about it.
Yeah, a lack of empathy. They take sexual advantage of members of the sect or cult.
And sex often is a requirement with adults, and maybe not even just with one. Sometimes it's several. As part of a ritual or a rite or something, they sell it that way to you.
And they use drugs a lot of times, actually, to get the orgies going. They are hypersensitive to how they are perceived by others.
Yep. They publicly devalue others as being inferior, incapable, or not worthy at all.
They make members confess their sins or faults, like I was saying with Scientology, publicly subjecting them to ridicule or humiliation while revealing people's weaknesses, which is so evil.
It is, and that's why we always say to talk to a trusted friend.
Yes.
When you have stuff going on, talk to somebody that you trust. You don't need to go and tell these people these things.
No, and you need to make sure the trusted friend is really trusted and doesn't gossip
They
about
will
you.
ignore the needs of others, including biological, physical, emotional, and financial needs. They just don't care.
They are frequently boastful of their accomplishments
because they need to be the center of attention at all times, and they do things that will like distract others. Like they come in late and make a big entrance, right? They wear these exotic, crazy clothing, bright colors, over dramatic speech, things of that nature.
That's very histrionic, by the way. They insist on always having the best of everything, the best cars, the best clothes, the hottest women or men, right?
Yep.
Even when others are relegated to these lesser facilities and amenities or clothing. In fact, in the FLDS, they have 8 different ways that you can do your hair. And it's these braids.
Yes, I remember.
Yes, and it's these braids, and it takes people like months to learn how to do these braids. They're terrifying.
It's funny because in the end, they asked the women, like, what's the hardest part about being a part of this cult, this sect? And every single one of them was like, it's doing our hair every day.
Hair, yeah. And then they had pastel dresses that they were allowed to wear. It's stunning.
So they always insist, they don't seem to listen well at all. Like I was saying before, they just don't hear you. Communication is always one way, and usually in the form of dictation.
Yep. And then haughtiness, grandiosity, and the need to be controlling is definitely part of their personality.
They have to control you. They behave as people are just objects to them, right? You're just there to be used, manipulated, or exploited by this cult leader.
Yep. When criticized, they tend to lash out and do something that could be really bad for the cult member.
Anybody who criticizes or questions the cult leader is called an enemy immediately.
Yep. They refer to non-members or non-believers as the enemy, just like she said.
They act imperious at times, not wishing to know what others think or care, because they don't.
No. They believe themselves to be omnipotent. They're so powerful that nothing can come at them.
They have magical answers to magical solutions to all the problems. Yes. They're just magic. They just know.
Yes. They are superficially extremely charming.
Always. And they habitually put down others as inferior. Like the cult leader is the only superior person.
Right. They have a certain coldness or aloofness about them that makes others worry about who this person really is and or whether they really know them. Although cult members don't generally see this for a long while.
Yeah. They're deeply offended when there are perceived signs of boredom, being ignored, or being slighted in any way. So if they start noticing that their members aren't listening to his sermon or whatever, they're going to become enraged.
Yep, they'll be branded.
Yeah.
Okay, or beat. They treat others with contempt and arrogance.
They're constantly assessing people to determine those who are a threat to them and those who revere them.
Those who they can control, right? The word I dominates their conversations because it's all about them because they're narcissistic.
And they hate to be embarrassed or to fail publicly. When this happens, the rage is going to set in.
I'm sure. They don't seem to feel guilty for anything. That's where I said no empathy, that they've done wrong. And they don't seem to ever apologize, which is
and again, they fully
problem.
believe that they possess all the answers, that they are magically amazing, and they have every solution to all the world's problems.
Yeah. They believe themselves to be superior to everyone.
Yep. They're rigid, unbending, they're insensitive. That's just how they think. They just don't care.
They try, well, actually, they usually do control others in what they do, read, view, think, wear, have sex with, etc.
Yep. When you eat, sleep, they isolate you. They isolate the entire sect usually from contact with family or the outside world at all.
Yep, that way they control you much better. They monitor or restrict contact with family or any outsiders.
They work the least. The cult leader works the least, but demands the most.
Yeah, like hard labor. Like hard labor. They've stated that they are destined for greatness or that they will be martyred.
They seem highly dependent on adoration and feelings of, you worship me and I'm better than you. They're very dependent on feeling these things.
Like fishing for compliments all the time. They use enforcers or sycophants, which are flatterers, to ensure compliance from members or believers.
Yeah, they see themselves as really unstoppable. Like, no one can do anything to me.
Well, lots of times nothing happens for a really long time.
Yeah.
They conceal the background of their family, lots of times coming from a very unhealthy, chaotic family. But they don't want people to know that. Just like Charles Manson probably didn't want people to know that he was in jail for a long time.
And they don't think that there's anything wrong with themselves. They think that they are blessed and that they are a blessing to other people, and everybody around them should be like, thank you for being in my presence.
Either that or they have just a really weak sense of self and self-confidence, which probably is underlying there. They take away followers' freedom to travel. Yeah, you cannot. No, you
and they isolate the group physically, so it's pretty scary.
Yep.
So those are some of the personality traits that you guys can look for.
Yeah. So if any of these things sound familiar to you, if you recognize any of these traits at all, it is possible that you or somebody that you love is involved in a cult. Please reach out, notify someone. There is help. There is a way to get out, but we have to talk about it, like we always say.
Yeah.
So many people have survived because of this. But if you need help, reach out. There's something called the Cult Awareness Network, and they do provide a lot of valuable help.
Yes, they're out of Chicago, and I'll go ahead and put the phone number down here in the links in the comments. So if you need that information, please, I know they're a wealth of information and they're so helpful. And if you're a family member who has a loved one in a cult, you can reach out to them too. Share your story with us. Give this video a like, you guys. We need to keep these conversations going. Awareness is the only thing that is going to create change for our world. So with that, have an awesome weekend. Yeah. We'll see you right back here on Monday.
Bye.
All right.